home and school experience. There is some things that you can do at home, and on our resource page we have a lot of examples, but this is just something that presents the German language slower way, with words, with pictures, and just something, if you don't speak German at home, this is something you could watch, over and over again. So this is just one example by, her name is Tian Bo, and she has tons of examples for how you could, bring in a little German. So let's just watch. It's like 2-3 minutes.
Groß und klein, dick und dünn. Guck mal, das Pferd. Das Pferd ist groß. Mäh. Guck mal, das Schaf. Das Schaf ist klein. Wow, wow, wow. Guck mal, der Hund. Der Hund ist dick. Miau. Miau. Guck mal, die Katze. Die Katze ist dünn. Langsam. Tick, tack, tick, tack, tick, tack. Schnell. Tick, tack, 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 tick, tack. Langsam. Tick, tack, tick, tack, tick, tack. Schnell. Tick, tack, tick, tack, tick, tack, tick, tack, tick, tack, tick, tack, tick, tack. Leise. Tick, tack, tick, tack, tick, tack, tick, tack. Laut. Tick, tack, tick, tack, tick, tack, tick, tack. Leise. Tick, tack, tick, tack, tick, tack. Laut. Tick, tack, tick, tack, tick, tack. Leise. Tick,
So I
tack.
think you get the idea. And she just has for a lot of word families, body parts, colors, all the general basic things in German. She's very good videos, and yeah, I think, did you understand a little more than from what we were doing? So, and these are just the things yeah, it can be very frustrating here in class, but we need to find these moments where, it's less frustrating and it's worthwhile for the students. So again, it is challenging. We can't change that. It will be challenging, but just finding, moments where, actually I understood. It's oh, I could teach my mom, or I could teach my dad how things work. I could teach vocabulary words, and just these things, having those moments at home too, is very, very important. So here at Einstein, we have 2 pathways. So we all said that we are Kinder through 2nd. So in Kinder through 2nd, every week, or the whole year is split up in 1 week German instruction, 1 week English instruction. And then in 3rd through 5th grade, we start with the non-immersion classes. So the kids come from 6 classrooms in 2nd grade. You can opt to go into a non-immersion class. And the non-immersion class still has all the benefits of an IB instruction, but the core subjects are taught in English. So everything is taught in English. The kids just have 4 times 45 minutes a week German instruction. So this starts in 3rd grade. So we have 3rd, 4th, and 5th, where we offer the non-immersion classes, where the core subjects are taught in English and German is taught as a foreign language. But then we have K through 5. We do have the 1 week English, 1 week German program. So those are just the 2 different options that we have here at school.
To add something to the immersion track that we have, it becomes a family activity, as you know. When you learn another language in an immersion setting, your child is immersed, your family is immersed. You go to events that are in German. We have a theater festival and other things. So it's really important to have that motivation and to foster that motivation at home in your student by being interested in what they're doing, by wanting to learn new words with them. I'm not saying you all have to learn German and you all have to take a college class or something in German, but being interested in it, like Neda said, to have that understanding that they're doing something that is difficult and something that they need to put a lot of effort in, and acknowledging that and helping them through that. And most of our students stay in the immersion path, kindergarten through 5th grade. We only have 1 class in the upper grades that goes into the foreign language, the non-immersion pathway. So that's great to see that students are successful and that they are learning German. That brings me to 5th grade, which is our highest grade here in elementary. And I wanted to talk a few moments about the German language diploma. In 5th grade, we are allowed to participate in a test by the German government. It's called the DSD, we call it the Deutsche Sprachdiplom. It's a German language diploma test. That kind of compares how well we do to everybody in the world who's learning German as a foreign language. Kind of gives us feedback on how our program is running, and we do tests before we ever get to 5th grade. We of course have checks along the way, but this is kind of a wonderful way also to encourage the students to participate in these. And all of our immersion students usually participate in the A2 level, and a lot of our non-immersion students participate in the A1 level of those tests. And the background of this is that many years ago, in the 1990s, European countries came together and they said, we're all teaching foreign languages. We're all teaching our language in another country. We want to have a framework where we all have the same standards. So when I take a Spanish test at a B2 level, that means exactly the same than when I take an English test or a German test as a B2 level in this European framework of languages and this language diploma. So these diplomas exist in Spanish, in Italian, in French, in German, in English. And it kind of gives us a little bit of feedback also how we're doing compared to other students in the world who are learning German. We're taking this test in 5th grade at the A2 level, and then in 8th grade at a B1 level. And then those who continue in high school with our teacher Jano Seeler will take it also at a B2 level. But this is all way down the line for you. But it's interesting information to know where we're going with all this German and this German instruction.
And the non-immersion class in 5th grade, they take the A1 test, and that's actually what I do with my kids in 3rd grade. And just like seeing how my kids and how the 3rd graders are doing with that test, it's very promising. Like, we have very high expectations for them, and sometimes we might look like, ooh, you know, like I wish they would do a little better. But then taking this test and seeing like, ooh, compared to like the the majority of German language learners all over the world, my 3rd graders do really well on that A1 test. And we don't send this in. This is just something that I grade for them. But just like seeing that for me is it's like, oh, actually, we are doing a good job here, and the kids are, ready for that. So that's for me too, like good to see, how this works and how our program is, built to, to serve this purpose.
And we're testing all language qualities. We're testing their reading, their oral comprehension, their oral production, their writing. So everything is reading comprehension, listening comprehension. So all of these areas are tested in this test. Okay, we have a little video for you to kind of see where we go with 5th grade. There are a few 5th grade students who are doing a small presentation. We wanted you to kind of see.
And it's still the same ones that we showed last time, so.
Have you seen them last time?
So yeah, what you see, there's one of the kids, she is a German native speaker, they speak German at home, but then 2 of the students, they, I remember them from 1st grade, they were very shy, like didn't participate a whole lot, so they were really, like holding back with their German, and now they're in 5th grade, and yeah, what they can produce is really nice. So it's about sandstorms.
Hallo und willkommen zu das Wettershow. Ich bin Frau Tachlaui. Als erstes möchten wir die Frage klären, was ist ein Sandsturm? Ein Sandsturm ist ein starker Wind, das Sand hebt und trägt. Es macht es schwer zu sehen, weil so viel Sand in die Atmosphäre ist. Es kann sehr schnell durch die Atmosphäre gehen. Einige Sandstürme können 100 Millionen Tonnen von Sand über die Höchsten. Ein Sandsturm kann von 4 Stunden bis 2 Tage dauern. Hier seht ihr, wie ein Sandsturm aussieht. Ihr habt uns gefragt, wo gibt es Sandstürme? Heute haben wir einen Reporter aus Wisconsin. Hier ist Kerla.
Ja, es gibt normalerweise Sandstürme in der Wüste. Zum Beispiel Ägypten, Dubai, und Australien. Die sind da, weil da Sand ist und der Wind. Zusammen mit der Sand macht der Sandsturm. Sandsturme können sehr groß oder sehr klein sein.
kind of get the gist of this, right?
And I'm saying like, so Sarah is my native speaker. She's a native speaker and they speak German at home. She makes grammar mistakes. Like, it might sound to you guys perfect, but to me it's like, yeah, there's, you know, like there's little things here and there that she doesn't get right, but she lives in California, you know, when she speaks with her friends, they speak English, so it's really like, where are we? We are here in California, so we have to have like, you know, expectations that, you know, match our situation. If she would be in Germany for 3 months, those grammar mistakes would be gone. But since she lives here, yeah, there is some things that, you know, as a German native speaker, it's like, oh, this, and this. But just like having the right expectations is very important for our school and for our system.
And we're speaking about our testing in first grade and the levels. We wanted to bring you to our German resource page. We've been talking about it several times. But here we have, actually there are computers on the tables. If you just push the on button, they should come on right away and go into the guest sign-in. Browse as a guest.
So yeah, if you turn them on here, and then you can browse as a guest. Turn on. There you go.
And we have extras if you want to.
And yeah, we just want you to look where your child, you know, at your child's grade level to see what are the expectations for that grade. So if you're here, you can go down on the bottom, it says browse as a guest. And then it should open. And then you go to the AEA website. Go to elementary, AEA Charter Elementary School. You go to students, down here, and then if you scroll down, we have the German resources. And then it should be the second to last tab, grade level. And then you can find information about your grade level.
Let's go there. Let's look, for instance, at kindergarten.
So just take like a couple minutes and read what your grade expectations are for that grade.
This is also an app on your phone if you use on the phone.
Yep, and done.
Yeah, she has it on.
And then you can go to grade level.
And as you can see here, for instance, in kindergarten, there are links down here to, for Claudia's a music teacher, and then the Einstein rap, which is their phonetic song to learn the sound of the phonetic units. So here's one resource possibility right here. Then what we just changed on the side is, if you see up in the menu bar, we now have different options. You can, for instance, go to play, to read, to watch, and to apps. And this is also something that the kids could go to. So let's say the kids go to play. See what we have under play. There are several games on here. And I tried, there's, for instance, Duolingo. That's a wonderful program. Let me go on there. It's a language learning program where you can check your comprehension in reading, you can check your comprehension in listening, and you can also, if you have a microphone on your computer, talk to the computer and see if that was pronounced correctly, what you said when you wanted to listen to a word.
And this would be for a great resource for parents too. My husband is doing it at home, and if he would be sticking with it, yeah, he's doing it with my 4-year-old daughter at home, so she helps him. But yeah, that would be something great for parents to just, you know, do on a regular basis.
So if you click on Duolingo, which I'm trying to do and not opening up, but if you click on Duolingo, does yours open? Click on the link. Oh, you just- So we check Deutsch. And most of the students, there is a test. If your student is in an upper grade, you can say, well, let's do a test first to see where you are, so they don't have to start with das Buch and der Hund, but they can start at a higher level. So you can do a different test. And let's go to mit dem Lernen anfangen and see what comes up. Start at the basics for the kindergarten and first graders, and this is something the younger children should do with a parent. So when we go on here, it will read the word, and then you can decide. First of all, it's just going to give you information.
Frau, Mann,
And they want you to select the word for woman.
Which I did not. So let's do that. Let's uncheck this one.
So you can go to continue.
So now we're selecting the word for boy up there. So we go to listen.
Junge,
That sounds right. So we take that. And there are many levels to this, so you can go on forever. They become sentences, small phrases, sentences later on. And the wonderful thing is that you actually can listen to it, so you hear the sounds of
Yeah.
the spoken.
And it's very repetitive, so if you didn't get die Frau in the first try, then there's another activity where the Frau comes back again. So even if you don't get it the first time, like there's a lot of other activities where, you know, eventually you'll get it. And it sends you like a report, like how many minutes you practiced, how you did. So yeah, Duolingo is something very easy to use, and for, you know, all the ages, like kids, I would do that with, you know, with a parent, but also for parents, a very good resource too. Just show your kids, like, oh, I'm in the same boat with you, I'm learning too, like that's how I do it, like can you help me? Like even these interactions are very helpful and beneficial.
Is it free?
It's free. Yeah.
And another one is Mutzi. That is unfortunately not free. You can always do a trial. Kindergarten uses that also in the classroom, so they will know these characters when they see the brown monster coming up or the green monster. They know who that is. So that's also a wonderful program. Just to have them listen to the language, have them listen to words, have them listen to stories to build language. That's more for the younger ones, though. Mutzi, I wouldn't recommend that after first grade. Yeah, under read. If you want to go there, there are several libraries, and there's also our book list that our librarians put together with recommendations. You can find some of these books during the book fairs, and in the library if you just want to take them out of the library here at Einstein.
And we do have some samples in the back. When we're done, you can look through those too. But yeah, our library is like great with the materials that they have in German. And yeah, if you have questions, you know, go there and ask them. They're very, they have a lot of materials and can help you find what is right for your student.
So I just went on to Storyweaver, which was the first app, and let's just pick one of these little books. These are all books online. And they're by reading level, so you can see level 1 to 4 are the levels. This is easy, but it's not that easy that a kindergartner could read it or a beginning first grader. So just be aware that this level 1 does not mean first grade, because when we look into the text, there's already a lot of text in these books. They do know the words, and it's nice for decoding. Unfortunately, you can't really listen to the words on here, but it's nice to practice basic reading. If you don't have a book at home from the library and you one day have to do a reading log, this is a nice resource to find a book that they could read and use. And it's free also. All of these are free on this website here. So let's go back.
And what level would you recommend for the third graders?
It's really hard to say because, and we'll talk a little bit about later about how the reading in German or the German reading is different, how learning to read in English. So in Germany, it's just like, it's a different philosophy and it works a little differently. So what we usually say when we have like the level 2 would be 3rd grade. The level 1 would be 2nd grade. So that's like about. But there's so much more, like maybe they don't know all the vocabulary words, so they can decode it, but they don't understand it because of the vocabulary. So this is just where we can say like, oh, 2nd grade German reading here, our 2nd graders read that, because there's just like so many layers to it. But what we approximate is like level 1 go to 2nd grade, level 2 goes to 3rd grade, about, yeah.
We also in the library has the books by reading level, so you can ask the librarians, they can direct you to a book according to your child's reading level.
And then it's just like, try it out. Like, interest levels too, like, pick a book, okay, read it, what do you feel like? How do you feel you sounded, yeah? Now, what did you read about? What did you understand? Like, ask questions. So this is just like where you can get a feel for your own child, because it's not, we can't say like, oh, this and this. Like, you need to get a feel for your child. How does the child feel? And that can help you too. And then interest levels too. Like, if they're interested in something, oh, maybe a level 3 would work. But if they're not interested, if they don't have the background vocabulary, then, we might have to go back to level 1. So it's really feeling it out. I think is a good strategy.
And then let's take a look at watch. It's probably popular amongst the kids. So here we have several websites that the teachers have put together. ARD and ZDF, those are German public television sites, and they do have children's shows that they, it's not live streaming, so they record them and you can see them the next day, or you can see them from a week ago. So that is always a nice thing for them to play around. That's probably more for the older children to look at. What I wanted you to look at is Anna and Paula's Tiere, because I really like this site. And here, the language in these videos is difficult, it's not easy, but there are words that they will understand. They should not worry about not understanding every word of these videos. But there are a lot of things that they will understand. And the more they watch them, the more they will understand the context. And with these animal shows, it's very self-explanatory what they're doing. They're going and they're looking for a hedgehog under a tree. And when you've seen that 3 times, you understand, oh yeah, that's what they're doing, and they're feeding it. Oh yeah, and so they will understand by just watching it and by listening to the language. So don't have them get frustrated just because they don't understand every word of a video. That's very normal. Certainly nothing to worry about.
I let her talk.
Andere heißt Norbert und ist ein riesengroßer Hirsch. Ach so, nee, nicht was ihr jetzt denkt. Der Norbert ist wirklich ein Hirsch und er ist auch wirklich riesengroß. Aber wenn ihr jetzt denkt, dass der Norbert so aussieht, wie dieser Rothirsch hier, dann liegt ihr falsch. Der Norbert ist noch größer. Außerdem hat er ungefähr so ein wunderschönes Geweih wie ich hier. So, jetzt muss ich aber los. Schließlich will ich zu meinem Date nicht zu spät kommen. Also, ich hab's euch noch gar nicht gesagt. Der Norbert ist übrigens ein Elch. Ist klar, oder? Also, los geht's. Mein Date mit Norbert habe ich in Thale im Harz. Er lebt dort bei Jörg in einem Elchgehege. Ich zieh mal lieber mein Geweih aus, damit ich Norbert keine Konkurrenz mache. Und für euch gibt's die ersten Infos. Elche sind typische Tiere des Nordens. Sie kommen von Alaska im Westen Amerikas bis weit im Osten Russlands vor. Bei uns in Europa gibt es die meisten Elche in Skandinavien, in Schweden, Norwegen oder Finnland.
But they have something on any animal, and another thing we wanted to mention that we're using a lot is YouTube in German. YouTube has a ton of, and that's of course, that has to be parent supervised. Never let a child on there and do that, but if you go to YouTube and you write the word Deutsch, D-E-U-T-S-C-H, as we have put over here, any show will come up in German, so you don't go to the. It's still sometimes .com, but it will come up in German. And any kind of cartoon that children like to watch, like SpongeBob or Bob the Builder, they all exist in German. So maybe it would be a good idea for one TV time if they have earned some time on the television, instead of watching SpongeBob in English, watch SpongeBob in German, or watch Bob the Builder in German. Not only do they listen to the language, they probably have seen the show already because they're a little bit behind in Germany in those shows, so they probably know it and they know what was discussed in that and what the subject was, and it will help them just listen to the language. Here again, one thing is the more German they hear, the better they understand and the better they learn it. There's no secret to this, and they have to listen to it very often. This is a way to do it. We're not encouraging extra TV time or so, but if they do get time on the television, why not use this tool?
And this, what Birgit just said, also is true for the reading. Like if they read The Magic Treehouse in English and they know that book very well, we have those in German too, so read them, like read the German book afterwards, or read it like, side by side. Like these are some things like they might not understand the whole Magic Treehouse in German, but if they've already know what it means, then, the transfer to the German is way easier. So reading books next to each other, or having the German English versions, we have some German Spanish books in the library also. Like this is something that, just like helps them, like interact with the text, but having some background knowledge, background information.
And then under apps we have like Duolingo and other things that are in app format for Android and for iPhone. That's why I'm going to go to reference. And a reference, one thing we really love is leo.org. It's an online dictionary. I'm going to open this up so you can see it. It's free. And it's a wonderful reference. I think the days we have spent in looking up words in a paper dictionary, and here it is. You can have it on the phone, you can have it wherever you like. As a parent, if you're helping with homework, you have it right there, you look up words. And the wonderful thing, let's say we put in a verb, you get the conjugation. So first of all, you can listen to it.
Spielen.
You can hear how it sounds. And if you click on this little box here, you can see German does conjugate like Spanish does, so we do put endings depending on who is talking, on the person who's talking. So here you can see what are the endings that are used for this particular verb. It's oftentimes useful with homework because they're working on this particular thing in their classroom, so you can help them understand better if they don't, or just so that you understand what they're working on. Let's look at a noun. German does have articles in front of all the words, and they can be neuter, masculine, or feminine. And we know, for instance, now for a house,
Das Haus.
it's das Haus, so it's a neuter article. So this will help you also find the plural of a word, because you see behind, PL means plural, die Häuser. So it's a very helpful tool to have as a parent on the computer as well as on your phone. And as I said, it's free. All these wonderful tools are free.
So Leo is very good for like if you're looking for like one word. Google Translate is great too. What we just recommend from the teacher side, like if you don't understand like instructions on a homework, for example, like you can put that in Google Translate, and it's like scary how good it is. Like it translates it for you. When we want the kids to produce a text, however, it's not recommended that they write their text in English and then put it into Google Translate and then it spits it out for them. Like when they write, we really want them to produce, and we want to see what can you produce. And go, simple sentences in German. Like that's just like, it doesn't have to be perfect. And this is from at home too, like making sure your child knows, do what you can do, and if you can't do it, then this is something we need to work in class, and this is something you need to tell your teacher. But don't just like have like, oh yeah, we can do the Google Translate, boom, we don't need to go to a German immersion school to use Google Translate. It is helpful, and you should use it if you need, information or that, but if the kid is asked to produce on his or on her own, like Google Translate would not be the way to go. If you want to look up a word, go to leo.org and like find the word, but don't just have Google Translate do the work for you, because what did you do then? Yeah, you wrote an English text, that's good, but you can do that during English week, and in German week we really want to see what your child can do, and emphasizing that perfect it doesn't have to be perfect, I think is very important too.
Okay. We'll come back to this page also in a minute.
Yeah, so we did hit a little bit on the reading in German. We talked about the book list from the library, which is very helpful. But I think what is really important is the different philosophies between like learning to read in English and learning to read how in German. So English is very tricky with all the consonant patterns and all that. Like I learned it when I was like 11 or 12. I already could read in German, so it was much easier for me to do that. But from when our kids go into kindergarten and have to learn how to read English, it is tricky and how, you know, everything forms. German is different. Like, once you know your German sounds, what you see is what you get. Like, there is a few, like, patterns that you know, might sound a little different, but it's basically once you know your sounds, then you're good to go. You can decode and you can read. So that's why it's very important from kindergarten on, when the kids learn, you know, Claudia's rap, that you really practice those and listen to those. And you don't want to listen to them anymore, but you still have to listen to them. Like, this is very important that the kids know their sounds. So they might be great in decoding, but now comes to comprehension. Even if I give the kids a picture with the word, if they don't know what that word is, what the vocabulary word is supposed to say, they can decode, but they still don't understand. In English, when I see the picture and tree, I know in my head already it's tree, so I can say tree. But if I don't know I don't know, or this picture is supposed to be baum, and I don't know my sounds, it doesn't come together. So this is why the background vocabulary knowledge is very important, and makes it tricky. We might be able to decode, but we still might not be able to comprehend what we are reading. Then, because German is so different, there is no phonic readers. Like the beginning texts in German that we have, like in first grade, for example, are already hard. Like they work with syllables, great, the kids can decode the syllables, but then it goes into text like very early, and that sometimes the kids just don't have the vocabulary. But since the kids in Germany have that background knowledge with the vocabulary words, it is easier for them. So there's no need in Germany to have those like easy readers, because it's just like it's a different situation there. We talked about the oh yeah, and then one other big thing is the age when kids learn how to read in German. Like here we start very early, like 5. In Germany, the kids start learning to read at like 7. So they have way more experience with words, with language. So it goes quicker because they are more ready for it. But because English is so difficult, we think here in the US, we have to start them earlier because we need more time to practice it. So the interest level of the kids when they start learning to read in English versus in Germany, it's just like a different level, so it doesn't match up. So if I have a 3rd grade text for them, and the kids are already a little older, like it doesn't combine with their interest, like what they want to do. So this is another thing where just the material, it's just a different situation. So one thing that is very helpful in German is the syllable coding. So you see some of the books, they have like blue syllable, red syllable, blue syllable, red syllable. So that just helps them with the fluency and help them like, you know, go along. But again, this is for the decoding and not necessarily for the comprehension. So we really have to practice, give them vocabulary words to, you know, be able to understand what they are reading. So it might sound good, but they don't comprehend. And this is just like a problem that we have in a non-German background or community here. So we do as much as we can, and this is why it's so important to expose them to a lot of German, that they just like hear and see and, you know, make the connections. And that leads us to the first steps and how we said, you know, in the beginning, just like you being here and being committed to this whole thing, is the most important thing, but there are some things that are important. And the first thing, and that's all our teachers say, and how I said earlier with the 5th grade video, it's having reasonable expectations. Like, if your kid just started kindergarten, he might not be able to see somebody at the beach that speaks German and start a conversation with him. Like, that's not where we are at. Like, we really start from small, and we need to put effort in, and we need to let the children know, try as much as you can. But we just like, even the native speaker that I call a native speaker, it's not perfect. It's not 100% perfect. So just knowing that, what can I expect? What should I expect? It's not going to be perfect, but we're just doing the best we can. I think this is important. And then also, once they are older and once it really clicks for them, they can go back and grab on those basics that they've learned, with us here at school. Once they understand the grammar, they can actually now see the grammar, mathematically, see how the things are supposed to work, and then they can use it. Right now, it might not be that way, but when they are older, they will definitely have this basic exposure and the basic experiences that will help them for their future. No, for sure. One other thing that I said, ask your teacher, home support, homework. If you don't know what to do for homework, your teacher needs to know. So shoot them an email, have your child ask. We try to give you, all the information, and it looks like, yeah, some of them do it, some of them don't. But if you have a question, ask your teacher. The teacher needs to know, what are you struggling with? How long does the homework take? Are you fighting over the homework? Just because you don't like to do homework, or because there's no way you understand? So having this communication with your child, but also with your teacher, how can you help us? And if we as teachers know that there are issues, that there are problems, we are able to help you. It's really, we need to do the homework to have this more German at home. But if there are problems, then you need to let the teacher know, and you need to ask. So those problems can be solved. Also, talk to your child's teacher about their home pages, their resources they offer. Kindergarten has a great homepage with for Claudia, with different videos. Ask them. I know in their homework menu, I think they offer email us, you singing a song, or you telling us the colors, for example. Do these things, and that gives you this communication piece. This is what we're doing. How can we do it better? Just showing what you guys are doing at home, and then how it comes out, I think, is important. The flashcards with your vocabulary words. Have the daily routines, what are we doing? We're getting up, we're having breakfast. Just little things, infuse those in your day. And also as a parent, then this is something you can learn that. How do I say at the breakfast table, this is my spoon. How do I say it? Löffel. Okay, now we call the spoon Löffel. Or may I have a glass of water, please? How do we say that? Kann ich bitte Wasser haben? Okay, how do I say it again? Just having these little routine conversations in German at home, how you say good night. These things, just have that in your day, and that just makes it a little, a little more natural, and just more hands-on for the kids. Label the home. We have it here, die Wand, the wall, das Poster, the poster, die Kammerwand, der Tisch. All over your house, have little vocabulary words. Colors, stuffed animals. You can put body parts on the stuffed animals. Just that, the German is present in your house. I think this is something too that's very important. Just again, where we see, this is why we're here. This is why we're doing that. German phonics, I said, listen to for Claudia over and over again. Reading in syllables, getting these materials from the library, and just to make them feel successful, because it does sound they sound really good when they teach, and just when they read, and just having this success is great. And then how we said earlier, the language exposure with CDs, films, music, play dates, invite somebody that speaks German. Will they speak 2 hours for 2 hours in German? No, they won't. But even if they speak for 5 minutes in German, that's great. and then next time they might speak a little more. So just like offering these like experience, interacting with the German, that's important.
Again, the German resource page that we just mentioned earlier, and the teacher websites, as Katrine just said. Please take a moment in the next few days. If you have not done so, I'm sure most of you probably have, but go to your German teacher's website and check what's on there. They have a link to the German resource page, and they also have information on websites and other things, daily words, what they suggest, dictation in the upper grades, what are the words, what do they mean. It's all on there, and take a look at that. And let me see what the next slide is. So let me talk a little bit more about what else is on this resource page before I go into the programs we have here at Einstein. And I need to switch.
So one thing Birgit is going to talk about is going to be culture. So there's one tab where it explains like what cultural events are happening here in San Diego or also in Germany. And December 6th is coming up, and this is Nikolaus Day. So we do have a little bag prepared for you, and this is a German tradition that on December 6th, or on the night actually on December 5th, the kids would like clean their boots and put the boots outside because it's so cold, so they put the boots outside. And Nikolaus comes, if they were good kids, and gives them a little goodie back in their shoes. So just like doing these little traditional German things, this is also something that just brings it home. So on your way out, you can grab one of the brown paper bags, and then on Thursday morning, before they get up, you can have a little gift from Nikolaus ready for them.
And there is a paper that we put over there that explains, again, what's on the website here. What does that mean? And today, for instance, kindergarten had the celebration this morning. So if you're wondering what are they doing in school today, it's usually on the teacher's website is an explanation, and we have it on our website also under culture on the resource page. There are several of them. We just had the German Day of Reunification, German Spirit Day, things like that are on the website. An explanation on why are they doing these weird things in school. Lantern walk while we're walking around with lanterns, things like that. They're on the website. There's an explanation. Another thing I wanted to draw your attention to on our website is language opportunities. And here we have school programs here at Einstein that are happening after the school. They're not offered by Einstein, but we, for instance, have a German Kinderchor. We have Mini Musikanten, which is done in German, and German Arts and Crafts. Those are afternoon programs. There's Kindermission if you need the support for longer time in the afternoon. So these are programs available through outside organizations. Some of them are taught by, for instance, for Claudia, that's one of them or two. That is a wonderful opportunity to give them extra German if you like. We also, we have a student exchange in middle school. Well, the students are looking forward to that. And then further down, we have other resources, preschools, high schools with German programs, and other German language opportunities. If you can't get enough German here, there are other ways to get more. Weekends, afternoons, if you have older students who are not at Einstein and you want to have them have that experience as well, there are other programs, the German Saturday School, German Pacific School, and a lot of them also offer adult classes. So if you're interested in learning German yourself, for instance, the German Pacific School has a wonderful adult program for parents to learn German. And most of the parents there like to do this because they have children in school that learn German, and that they're all in the same boat, they're all at the same motivation. Grossman College offers a great program. Check it out. This is on the website. And then way down the line, studying Germany. It's also on here if you're interested. It's free, that's why. Okay, let's go back to the parent university. So these are the programs we have that are school sponsored here. We have Claudia who teaches music. We've talked a bit about her today. She teaches vocabulary through music, which is really important and is a wonderful way for the kids, all of them at different levels, to learn the language. And if you've been in a kindergarten or first grade classroom, she has a song about everything, about the colors, about the weather, about how a plant grows. and it's wonderful. I do tours on Thursday, and every Thursday, it's not every Thursday, but often it's a new song about something new that they're doing. So it's wonderful to see how this is all incorporated, and all the kids are engaged in this. So this is a great support program for us. German tutoring, starting in the second half of kindergarten, going all the way to 4th grade this year. We do have 3 tutors part-time on staff who do work with students. They're recommended by the teachers who either need reading support in German or other support. Students who come new to us in 1st or 2nd grade who have special support that way. So we do have that support on staff, and it's by teacher recommendation usually that students go to German tutoring. Some do go 4 times a week for half an hour, depending on the. And another program, you might have met our intern teachers on campus, the young teachers who help in all the classrooms. We have 2 in the younger grades that help Kinder-1st and 2nd, and then we have 1 in the upper grades that help the German teachers in those grade levels. And here they are, our lovely ladies that are all helping right now. They're here for 5 months for a semester, most of them, and then they go back to Germany. And it's wonderful for differentiating in the classrooms, all the language levels. They do so many things. I'm sure Christine can attest to that. They help with individual students. They help with other projects. They sometimes even teach in the classroom small lessons. So it's a wonderful support program. And the way this works is they get a really tiny stipend for their help here, and they're supported to host families. So we're always looking for host families. So if you have an extra room, or if you know someone who has an extra room and you want to host an intern teacher, please come talk to me, because we're always looking for host families to make this program possible.
But yeah, this is, I mean, if people ask me like, oh, should my child go into tutoring like after school? Even to my good kids, I would say yes, because this is just, again, like this extra piece of German. And having somebody live in your house that speaks German, I mean, this is like, yeah, this is the jackpot. But yeah, we understand. You know, you need the room and even like the driving and stuff. But I mean, this is very, very powerful to have somebody in your house living that, you know, that speaks the language.
Those are some I already mentioned. These are afternoon programs that are offered here on campus if you're interested in participating.
And the same is true for this. Like, if you are looking for an after-school program, yeah, why don't, you know, do a German one? Like, this is, again, just like this extra little piece. And yeah, I mean, the kids in the choir, like, when they sing, like, this sounds like, you know, they could, like, stand up in Germany and sing as a German choir. Like, with the singing, like, it's a whole different, I can't sing, but it's a whole different level how they, you know, have the pronunciation and everything. So this is definitely something, if you're looking for an after-school program, why don't use one of the German ones? Just like the more German we get, the more powerful and the better.
And these are the programs we talked about that are additional on the weekend, on the afternoon, if that's something you're interested in addition, or for an older child, or something in your family. And the last announcement we wanted to make, which is also part of our immersion experience, we have a big theater festival in the spring, in March, 3 days of theater where our own students here perform. So some of you students might be in a performance. It's a wonderful experience to listen to German, to listen to wonderful performances, and to see your own children do that. It's a lot of work on the teachers, and they do a wonderful job in this. That's coming up in March. Check on the calendar, 3 days. And this year we have also middle school students participate. That was always difficult logistically in the past, but this is our first year where we hopefully get something together with middle school. So that's it, right?
No, but just like with the theater festival, just like you showing up and like you coming, like just like shows your child, ooh, you know, yeah, we are invested in this. We are, you know, we do want to learn the German. And like, yeah, in the classrooms, like we do celebrate all, you know, these German traditions, like Oktoberfest and Nikolaus. We do centers and we have spirit days, we have exchange students visit. Just like having this conversation, like with your child about these experiences, like what happened, why did you do that, what did you like, what did you not like, just like, you know, fostering this like connection between the German and the in school and at home is great. And then just how we said before too, It doesn't have to be perfect, but just instilling in your child that, you know, they will, out of what they are learning here, like they will grow into like a successful person, no matter what successful means. But just like this is going to be great for them, this is going to be a benefit, you know, they can look back later in life and like, oh, you know, I did that. I was challenged, but I tried my hardest. And I think this is just something, again, you know, having our expectations straight, like what, you know, what can we expect, but, you know, how can we celebrate what we're doing here in class, and just like instilling this in your child, I think is the most important thing that you as a family can do. So, is there anything else that you want to look more at the website, or this is definitely something? What I wanted to say with the website too, some of the sites are like German, so you might go on there and it's like, whoa, like I don't understand anything. But then again, have your child help you, or, you know, here, use the Google Translate, or, you know, start like small, like start with those videos where it really goes like, okay, adjectives, verbs, like nouns, basic vocabulary words. So this is just something too, like you have to like gauge with your student and with your own skill. I'm not a tech person, so even for me, so I'm looking at some of those things like that game, like I don't know what I'm supposed to do. But your child might, like, this is just something, again, yeah, where you have to figure out what can we do, what, you know, what is hard. So this might be tricky sometimes with some of the websites that are on there for like the games, for example. Yeah.
So I'm sorry I came in late. You might have already covered this, but are there certain points where the learning gets more difficult for folks? Like, are there certain points where you found where, yeah, I was never in an immersion program, but we had like a learning language program, which is different, and so I'm sure it's less intuitive the way you pick it up. And I just remember getting in French to the Tuska Pepe, and I was just like, and like I'm out, right? Like there's that kind of sense of like that future perfect or that past future perfect where things get really tricky. And I'm wondering if you find that with immersion, that there's a point where kids get, and it's just they might need an extra little push.
Yeah. I think that's a very good question. And it's, again, I think, like, how do we look at a writing piece? Like, if I look at a writing piece that a native German speaker wrote, and then if I look at a learner, like, I look at it differently. Like, same like when I talk to them, like, this might be good for the native speaker, but actually the one that's learning the language, I think that was great. So having, again, like this expectation piece, like is one thing that, you know, how does the teacher like look at it? We do have a rubric for the writing, but again, it's like very subjective, like how do you grade it? I do think in third grade when we start with the perfect, that is definitely something like the talking in the past, like this is definitely tricky for the kids, and this is something, yeah, you know, we are learning and we have to memorize. And then we can maybe do it paper pencil, but then when we have to write it, or then when we have to use it in our oral language, it goes like down the drain. So this is like perfect. I would say third grade is something that's, you know, that's hard. Then we have in fourth grade where they have like the Modalverben, like können, like may, what are Modalverben in English?
Auxiliary verbs?
What? This is another part where, you know, it becomes tricky. But again, it's like when I look at a paper, like I don't grade like every single, you know, spelling mistake or grammar. So we don't have like a curriculum where we have okay, they have to know this. Like we don't have standards like that. So in this area, we are very free here at Einstein. So, you know, if they can do it paper pencil, I'm happy. But if they can't do it like in their writing or in their oral language yet, I'm okay too with it. So it's hard to say because we don't have to fulfill certain standards. But just seeing in the end like how it comes out in fifth grade, we look pretty good. So I think this is the best I can explain it. Just like because of the lack of the, you know, standards that we have to follow here.
I think a hurdle that we see is motivation into middle school because of the age of the students. That's really where it's important that this foundation has been built and that the motivation has been fostered all along, because that's an age where socializing and other things are so much more important than learning German. And that's a time where it's really important that they stay on task and they stay focused and they do their homework. And so I think that's kind of what we see also with writing. It really picks up because that's what we're preparing for DSD 1 and so.
And then too in middle school they don't have this like 1 week of German, 1 week of English. So the German is like cut down. So in elementary school they are like held accountable to, you know, having their German at least every other week. But in middle school that's not there anymore. So they are not, it's a different demand. Like it's more is asked for them, but they have less interaction with it. So I think this is where it sometimes gets tricky.
Any other questions?
I have actually 2 questions. One is that I know that there are few families around who speak a different language than either English and German, including my family. And so sometimes we have the feeling that we're pushing maybe a little bit the envelope, a little bit too far. I mean, this is how we feel. Like she never complains about anything that. Based on your experience, I know that a lot of families, for example, speak Spanish at home, and that's the official language for there. And then when they go to school, they have to learn English and German. You know, so based on your experience, like how can the family help the kids to get there? Because we also want them to learn all language. So do you have any recommendations, or it's not that different than
I mean, I think that's great. It gives me goosebumps if I hear like, oh, you know, we do 3 languages like that. That's amazing. So I think also like from an English teacher's standpoint, once they are their home language or their mother tongue, how we call it in the IB, that should be strong. It needs to be strong. And even for reading, like, you know, you want to have that, you know, down, like how you read it. And then you learn the next one, and then you learn the other one. And if it takes a little longer, that's okay. Like it will pay off in the end. So yeah, if you feel, you know, that's very important for you, and it looks like it is, like yeah, go for it. Like this is great. And then, but again, you know, if your child would complain, well, you know, if she would struggle, well, maybe, you know, listen to your child too. But if she seems fine right now, yeah, go for it and just like do what you're doing. That's good.
There should be some structure though in who talks in which language to the child. Is the home language French or is the home language English? So and it has to be somewhat consistent because otherwise it could become really confusing. One parent who is the 3rd language speaker should then speak in that 3rd language and not try to speak in German if that's not their mother tongue. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There has to be a language model that you follow that is not confusing to them.
And I might speak a little bit against it. Like, I also think it needs to be you, like you as a parent, like what is your situation and how are you? Like, I'm not very consistent with my daughter speaking German. Like, we speak English at home, but her German is great. Like, it's just her thing. And I use her German with her for sure, and we read a lot of German and we sing, and you know, my husband tries, you know, watching like German videos with her, so she does get a lot of German, but it's not very like, okay, I only speak German to her and you only speak English to her. I do think you have to feel right about it too. I mean, definitely like research, you know, shows that you have, you know, some type of like structure with it. But I personally also think it needs to be what you feel is right. And I just feel like I don't want to be the parent on the playground that only speaks German to my child if everybody around me speaks English. Like, I would feel awkward with that, so I decided not to do it. But I know there's a lot of families, they only speak German or they only speak Spanish. And that's fantastic for them because that is their, like, feeling towards it. So I really think you have to do also, like, what you feel good or what feels good for you and what matches your personality.
But we've had families with multiple languages that do the kids beautifully.
Yeah.
In all the languages, not
The
just.
second part of the question was actually, would you guys encourage a kid that is mix and matching, like in one sentence, like different languages? These days we don't know really how to react to that, so I'm curious about your experience.
You might want to repeat it in how it's correctly said, so I wouldn't correct them, I would just repeat it how it's said in English,
But
whatever the sentence is.
Okay. But in which language then? Which
Oh,
one do we
so it's like the first part is in one.
Like
and the second-
usually she would start in French and then I have a random word in the middle that is going to be English and then hopefully sometimes German as well. That, because I know that some books, for example, we have books where like they do it on purpose where they mix and match different languages in one sentence.
Yeah.
And I was just curious about your experience on that.
Well, it depends. I know my son used to do that. He used to say, for instance, ich bin noch nicht aufgebackelt. So you'd use the English word, you put it in the German past tense, and you put it in the end of a sentence. And you would just say, oh, du wolltest sagen, du bist noch nicht angeschnallt. So that he kind of understands, okay, the sentence was started in German, it was supposed to be a German sentence. You repeat it the way it's supposed to sound for them. And the more and more they hear it, the way it was supposed to sound, that's the way they will then hopefully learn the correct way. But I wouldn't be too concerned. I think that's quite normal for young children to do some mix and match, especially if they grow up more.
And again, oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, I think it's the most important just to keep it positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you're
Not like with the
repeating
red
it back,
pen.
It's not like you're correcting them or
Yeah.
not.
Or that was wrong.
You're
Yeah.
saying it back to them in French, the whole sentence.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah.
mean this? Or you say it back, you know, just so it's positive.
And then even like, oh, can you help me, like, if we wanted to say that German in that sentence in English, like, how could we say that? So just like making it like a conversation without saying, oh, you were wrong. So not like with a red pen. And again, I feel like it's a feeling thing too. It's like, trying to, and just talk about it, maybe use it in a different context, that word. Yeah.
And again, it's exposure. If they hear that language spoken a lot, eventually they'll figure out, oh, that was wrong what I just said, and they correct themselves. That's what we hope to do with immersion. That's why it's important to have them exposed to the language as much as possible. Which they do in English usually, but they don't do in other languages that they learn. Any questions?
Can I have 5 quick minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you. Just wanted to say thank you to all of you because it's probably getting dark at 4:30 right now and it's exhausting to come out and come to school to do more learning for your children. But you came here and you came here for your kids, so give yourselves a round of applause. Second, I just wanted to say, I think it's such a gift what our school provides as far as the language goes. When I started here, I thought all IB schools, because I was new to IB, did this much language. And if you look at other elementary schools that are IB schools, and I'm not faulting them, but they'll do like an hour or two of, say, Spanish a week or French a week or something, but it's not this much language. So your kids are getting IB and 50% immersion. So that is just, it's a huge gift. And then I wanted to just applaud our presenters tonight. They spent hours updating our German resources page to make it really engaging, up to date, and really relevant for all of the families. So let's give it up for that. And the last thing, I just have a big favor. Well, 2 things. If you didn't sign in, please sign in. It's important that I get to this to the principal, and it's if we have parents showing up, then we get to continue with providing the parent universities for the parent community, which is really important to us to be able to communicate with all of you and to find out from all of you what you guys want to see going forward as well. I have a quick just evaluation for tonight. Our main thing is knowing how to serve you. So if, for example, I think a couple of you that came tonight had already come last year for a German Parent University, if there's something that you want to see different